Hey Fit Pros, it's your host Tyler Valencia here. Before we get to this episode, I quickly want to share a free resource we have on the KIPS website and YouTube channel. If you're struggling with your online workouts or just want to see the items that we recommend, check out our virtual training resources page. You'll find breakdowns on streaming setups, reviews on microphones, and other free videos that can help you build your fitness business today. Did I mention they're free? Go check them out at the link in the description or head over to our website to find them under the blog tab. Welcome to the KIPS Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. On the podcast, we have a friend of mine. Outside of the podcast, someone that I've gotten to know and really enjoy the conversation talking about fitness, the fitness industry. And today she's going to be talking about her baby, her Masala Bhangra. We have the Sarina Jain on the podcast. Thank you, Sarina, for being my guest.
Woohoo! Cool. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me. That was a fantastic introduction.
I knew you'd like that.
Jane.
Well, let's kick it off for people that, I don't know why, they don't know you. For the listeners, can you give a little background on yourself? How did you get started? What was that story? And kind of what's your history in the fitness industry?
Oh, man. Woo! We're just getting right into it. Okay. I have been teaching. First of all, Tyler, thank you for having me on your show. It's a fantastic show, and I know a lot of people listen to it, so thank you. I've been teaching fitness for 29 years, a very long time. I started teaching all kinds of fitness classes. I still do. I still teach, right now my go-tos are the old school step aerobics, which is still a lot of fun. Of course, weight training, that I don't think will ever die out. And of course, Masala Bhangra. I used to do kickboxing, Latin jazz and Latin groove and all that stuff back when I first started teaching fitness. And then when Masala Bhangra, I just kept getting busier and busier and more classes were added for that. I had to let go of the other classes. But still today, I do teach total body conditioning classes and at least step because there's still some diehards out there. I'm still very young though, so do not please age me on this. I started teaching fitness at a really young age. You have to understand, I come from a background where I was born and raised in the United States. And I was born and raised to two parents who immigrated to the United States for a better life from India. So my parents came from India, but it's not like they came with this mindset that fitness is very important and you have to work out and, oh my God, this is just extremely important and make some time, right? That's not how I was raised. I wasn't raised at all. I was raised to education. That was it. So it's interesting how I'm in the fitness world because it's not like my mom and dad said, yes, but their support certainly has been an integral part of what I do. But I grew up very active. I was a very hyper person. I still am very energetic. And so when I started exercising, on my own, it was just something I really loved. But I don't know if you know this about me, because I know you know a lot about me, but I don't know if you know this about me. And that is when I first started teaching fitness, I was really young. And I remember a woman sort of took me under her wing and said, I'm going to train you. But and she trained me how to teach on the 32 count and everything. And it just came to me naturally. But the way I really got into fitness is in the clubhouse that I used to, in the area where I used to live in, there was a clubhouse. And in that clubhouse, they had aerobic classes every day, Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And they were free because we were part of the clubhouse. So I would go and I would take the classes. I don't know why did I go? I mean, I just had a lot of energy. I wanted to, get it all out. And I started going to these aerobic classes at a very young age. And I loved it. And at that time, they did the same routine over and over again. So by now I know the entire routine, right? Knees up and over, double on the right, double on the left, grapevine to the right, for whoever's listening, I'm sure you know these terms.
Around the world.
Right? Around the world, right? Love that move. And I did that for 6 months, like nonstop. When then at that time, the teacher had said, my husband got shifted. We have to move to another state. And so I can't teach this anymore. Would you like to take over? All you have to do is just same routine. And I'm like, of course I'm going to take, sure. And then when she told me how much they were going to pay me, I fell off my seat. I'm like, you're going to pay me to teach a fitness class? Like, and that's the amount of money you're going to pay me? I was shocked. I was like, oh, of course I'm going to do it. And so that's how I was entered into fitness, thinking this is just a great side gig. But someone heard about me, and then she came to me and came to my class at that little small, East Lake Village clubhouse. She took me under her wing, and she's like, I think you would be great at this. And she taught me how to teach step. So she taught me how to teach, and I taught some of her classes at her studio, at her home studio, a small knit studio, that mom and pop shop. So it was pretty fascinating that we both helped each other out. Mm-hmm. I don't know where that woman is today, Tyler. I really wish I knew where she was. And I hope wherever she's at, I really do hope that she's seen me, and I hope she can smile, because I don't know where she's at today. Yeah. But she taught me how to teach fitness. And then, yes, I was the one that always took the 6 a.m. classes and the 6 p.m. classes. I love waking up early. I love waking up and teaching those 6 a.m. classes. And I would go to school. I finished high school. I would go and come back and do the 6 p.m. classes. So as you can tell, I started really young. So that's how I got into fitness.
Yeah. That's one of those stories where I remember when you're talking about like how much you get paid. I remember that time when my first personal training job, and I remember like getting like the offer letter of like how much you get paid per hour. And I remember like looking, I'm like, what? I get to make, but like now being in the industry for a little bit longer, like thinking back, I'm like, dang, they got such a good deal on that.
Right.
How much money that they actually made off of it. And I only got like a fraction of it. But that's when you're new coming into, you're like, oh, wow, like I get to make this. Yeah. Especially like hearing what per hour. And as you grow in the industry, you know that you're not making that every single hour. But that's a whole nother conversation there. And where we want to kind of guide this episode is talking about your instructor training. I think that it's something that I've seen more people jump into that space over the last 2 years. I think over the last 2 years, a lot of fitness instructors have realized that they got to put it in their own hands. They got to put their own future in their own hands, and they might have an idea for an instructor training that is like, oh, wow, I think this could be new. I think this could be fresh. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. You did this way before these people were ever thinking about it. With Masala Bhangra, what did that process look like in the beginning? Because I would say that just knowing this, I know that the fitness industry wasn't the same, that the way that you can research other trainings out there is not the same. What did that look like? What was the research you were doing? And what was that kind of initial idea? Like, okay, I think I got something.
So let me take your question and back it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
When I had been teaching fitness for a long time, and this really ties in to your question, because the instructor training itself came much later. Masala Bhangra was born in 1998, 1999. I came out with my first workout video at the end of 1999. And the year 2000 is when everyone talked about my first workout video. It was the first time ever to see an Indian dance program and, take place in a workout video. So, you had Jane Fonda workout videos, and then now you have my workout video next to hers. I mean, that was a huge compliment, right? That these are VHS tapes.
I was about to ask, was it a VHS?
It was that was the only one that was a VHS tape. Or maybe the second one was a VHS tape too. Well, and then it went straight into DVDs. And there we go. And we all know where we're at today. So when I first started it was an idea the whole reason. And I talk about this all the time. In every interview I have given, I will not end the interview without at least acknowledging I started Masala Bhangra to honor my father and his existence and to everything he told me to be proud of. So I was raised very much in an Indian household. we ate Indian food. We were in India almost every summer. I mean, I was very much raised with the Indian culture around me. There was no way around it. And the community, everything, I was very lucky that in California, there was a large Indian community versus some of the other places in the country. So it was just there. And when everything happened with my dad, it really made me think, what's important in life? Health is really important. Here I'm teaching fitness and I wasn't even able to, inspire him to get up and move or exercise. It was only through the latter part of his life that he finally joined the gym because I kept begging him. My father passed away to a massive cardiac arrest at the age of 47. My mom was 40 years old. There was still today probably the biggest tragedy we have ever faced. When your rock is shattered, it's gone. Where do you build from there? Where do you go from there? You have to start over. And when you don't have that rock, you can make every mistake possible because there's no one guiding. Of course, my mom guided us, but even she was shattered, right? She's a 40-year-old woman that was married to this man for 25 years. And now she's 2 kids to raise. Where does she go? I remember us coming together, my sister, my mom, and I, and it was an unspoken understanding of, all right, we're moving forward and we're going to make the best of it. And we're not going to fail. We're not going to fall down. We're going to be there for one another. And then a few years later, when I was working at a PR firm, it was a light bulb. I knew I wanted to do, what was going on in my mind was I wanted to get my Indian aunties and uncles exercising. Because really, you should not be passing away at 47. You should be living that long life. And it's due to health reasons. And so how can I help you stay in shape, auntie and uncle? And that's when this whole Indian dance idea was brewing in my mind. And it just, Tyler, I think you can understand this more than anyone. And that is when you have an idea and you see it from A to Z, you just see it, you're like, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. And you just have to go write it down really quick. And then you write the whole thing down and then you work backwards, right? Because you just wrote your blueprint in that, whatever, 1 hour, 1 day, whatever. It is like, push, this light bulb goes off. And that's exactly what I did. So fast forward, I did all the research of how to put the workout video out. And I'm going to answer your question because I'm going to fast forward big time. First workout video came out. Second workout video came out. Quite a few after that came out. In 2005, I was approached by Discovery Channel's Fit TV to have a show on Fit TV. I was, oh my God, I was blown away. Of course I'm going to bring Masala Bhangra. Who would have ever thought that this program, when I first started it, was for the aunties and uncles, and it's taken off for everybody. Let me bring you a piece of my culture to you via health and fitness. And then you also can know a few moves when you go to an Indian wedding. The last thing on my mind was doing a fitness instructor training program, right? It was after that show, 2005 to 2006, I got so many phone calls. So many phone calls. I would love to teach this. You teach it so easily on Fit TV. Do you have an instructor training program? I was like, what? What is that? What do you mean? And there were so many calls that came in that I'm like, maybe I should do this. 2006, I went back to that drawing board and I wrote everything out. What do I need to do to teach you about my culture and make Masala Bhangra impactful so that you can go teach it in your communities without losing the authenticness of it, without losing the respect of it, without washing, putting water down on this program, and still keep it alive and fresh and culturally speaking, amazing.
I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to get back to that part where you just finished in a second here, because I think that's really fascinating to jump into. The part that I'll quickly want to touch on is it's so true that when you are an entrepreneur, small business owner, I think it's almost, I don't want to say it's a gift, but it's a process in your head where you have to see it. I say that all the time. Like I have to see it. If I can see it, I can do all the steps. I can believe that's going to be something. And I feel like I've heard that from other people as well, that whatever idea is thrown out, a pitch or, oh, is this a good idea? Or can we do this? Well, let me see if I can see it and if it's going to work. And we have the pieces, because that's what's going through. You think about all the little pieces. Do I have the capacity to figure these things out? But I think that's right there answering my question, that as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, you kind of have that confidence to figure out all those items, figuring out things outside of your comfort zone. How do I put out a VHS? How do I put together an instructor training? You kind of have that confidence because you already did other tasks that kind of built that up. And the question I want to get to now is where we kind of left off there, is in the instructor training, what are kind of some of those moves that are unique to Indian culture that give it that, I feel like the term is Bollywood feel, that people can like, oh, wow, this is unique. Like with other formats out there that I hear, okay, well, my Group X format, we use dumbbells or we really emphasize strength training. With Masala Bhangra, you're teaching culture and you're teaching them, people, other than maybe going to an Indian restaurant, what do people really know about Indian culture? What is that inside of Masala Bhangra? What are some of those pieces? Because I'm actually very interested in that. So
we mostly focus on Bhangra, right? Okay. Bollywood is the added elements to it. Okay. So we mostly, Masala Bhangra's foundation is Bhangra. Okay. And because Bhangra is the folk dance from the north part of India. And in fact, I grew up dancing Bhangra. I love it so much. There's something about Bhangra and hip hop that mixes really well together, even though the lyrics are very different. There's something about it where I was a hip hop person. I love hip hop. Mm-hmm. So when I was approached by a girlfriend of mine to say, do you want to come and join our Bhangra team? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, this is easy. So she taught me how to do the Bhangra, and I taught her how to add hip hop into what we were doing. And it just went really well together. And then we fused it. And so now today, Masala Bhangra is fused with Bollywood. You have to have Bollywood in it here and there, but mostly it's Bhangra.
Okay.
So when I put the fitness instructor training together, I really had to ask myself, what do I teach you and what do I not teach you? What matters? What doesn't matter? So I went and I have a cultural page on my instructor training manual, right inside, where I talk about the nuances of the culture, simple things that I think are important to understand, because I think you will be able to teach better. If you don't understand the nuances, how do you represent a culture then, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the little nuances like moving of the head. Right. In India, people talk with their head side to side and we just talk right. And that's what we do. Right. And when you talk your head, it's like, how are you, Tyler? Yes, I'm very good. You move your head. It's just understood. Like, do you want to go get chai? And then you move your head. You don't even have to say yes. You just move your head. That means, yes, let's go. Mm-hmm. So we dance with our moving our head side to side, not like a bobble, but like we are lost in translation of the music and the lyrics that your head moves side to side. And so then that's a cultural nuance. So if you are an instructor that want to come and take my training, you don't have to do that, but it helps when you add the little nuances into, and it only comes from just practice. It doesn't come from, and fives. It doesn't come from, and here's a move, now move your head, right? It's a natural progression. Little nuances like, if you've ever taken a Masala Bhangra class, you will come and experience like the index finger comes up sometimes in a move, or the thumb comes up sometimes in a move. And those are just little, how many times I've taught a class where I'll have somebody from Punjab, India, because Bhangra comes from Punjab into the north part. Well, they'll come into my class and they'll be like, oh my God, I'm Punjabi, and they're so excited because that's where Bhangra hails from. And then their indexes come out. If you can just imagine this right now, right? Their arms come up like a W and their index comes up and they're shrugging their shoulders up and down because they're just so proud that they're about to do Bhangra with me. Mm-hmm. That's a cultural nuance where I think you should know that, because how many times has that happened with my non-Indian instructors, where an Indian person comes in and says, oh my God, Deb, I'm, this. And so she totally understands where that comes from. And thank God I taught that to her. Small things like namaste, right? Paying homage to where we are dancing. So I really had to sit down. This is why it took so long to go through this manual. And Tyler, when I first started Masala Bhangra, and again, if you're out there listening, you probably will know this firsthand. If you have taken my training, well, you took it at the very beginning when it was a 2-day training. I honed in on the culture. I wanted to make sure you got the moves correct and this, that, the other. Over time, I took out a lot because I thought, okay, maybe this is too much. And I really then had to go again and look through it and clean it up and say, what can I take out so that you can just read it at home, right? You can learn about the culture. What is a Bindi? Simple question as what's a Bindi, right? Because when you represent a culture, you're going to want to know outside. Bindi has nothing to do with fitness. And for those of you who don't know, a Bindi is that piece of jewelry that goes as a third eye, and only women wear Bindis. And, that's just a cultural piece where sometimes I would wear a Bindi in my workout videos, and people want to know what that is. And when you are the ambassador to whatever you're representing, you should know at least these major questions, these major things that people will ask you, because I think it's just important. So it's these little nuances that I put together, to explain to someone. And I think I did a pretty good job, because every instructor that has come my way has enjoyed it. They've learned a lot more than just, let me teach Masala Bhangra, right? They've learned a little bit more about the culture. Oh. But I think first step is first, right? Anyone who's going to like the culture, one. Anyone who's going to like the class, two. I mean, all of those things attract people. So they're going to come, the instructors.
Yeah. Quick question. Does Bhangra have a meaning, or is it just a region?
Bhangra is not a region. Bhangra is a folk dance from the north part of India.
Gotcha. Okay.
Bhangra is a folk dance. So the history behind Bhangra, in a really sweet answer and a quick answer, is in the old days, farmers would come out around, it was their time for their crops to grow. It's around this time right now. It's this festival called Baisakhi, where farmers would come out. It's a farmer's dance. So farmers would come out and they would dance and twirl around with vigor and vitality, and they would dance Bhangra because it was their time now for their crops to grow. They've come out of hibernation. They're going to go into now their season of fielding, right? Farming and fielding for the next 6-7 months. And then they go back into hibernation. And then again, they come out of hibernation. It's a big deal. All the supporters, whether it's wives or husbands, they all come out. It's a big deal where they bless the husbands to be like, okay, it's our time now. Let's hope that our farm does well. And, to kick off the season, they dance around to the beat of the dole, which is that 2-sided Indian drum, which is very loud and intoxicating. And all you need is that drum. And what's happened is, over the years, as Indians have migrated out of India into the UK and the United States, they've taken their culture with them. So they, of course, took Bhangra. A chunk of people from Punjab went to the UK. So today, if you were to go to the UK, Bhangra is so well known, everybody knows Bhangra, because there are nightclubs. There are underground nightclubs that are Bhangra. This is nothing. Here in the United States, Bhangra is just not known because now we're just so far away from India, where Bollywood is very well known here. Yeah. But Bhangra is it's a folk dance. There's folk behind it. There's no right or wrong way of doing Bhangra. It's amazing. I love it. It still is not old. I must be doing something right.
I liked your answer a lot. I'm one that enjoys documentaries or like things like the Anthony Bourdain series, where he goes into a country and you get to learn more about different cultures, and kind of taking that now to 2022, seeing more representation from different countries in bigger movies. I feel like, I know people say it's important, but that's why it's important. You learn these types of things, these intricacies that are just so unique that, I mean, I've seen the word Masala Bhangra so many times, but I never knew what that was. So knowing now what that means and the meaning behind it, it's fascinating. And knowing that kind of stuff now for fitness pros, those things, in my opinion, are key to know. Okay, where is your industry or where is your certification? What is the meaning behind it? Because then you get that buy-in on a whole nother level. You understand that your industry is younger. You understand what Bhangra is and why it's important and what it comes from. Because then now you have that next level of buy-in because you want to represent it. You want to evolve it. And those are the things that I feel like help keep instructors interested and wanting to grow because they have that whole nother level of history. And it's a unique piece and why I feel like it's important for certifications to have that type of information for the instructor, for the individual, because it comes through all the unique pieces that you already talked about with Masala Bhangra and the unique items of it. I mean, those are more than just putting your fingers up or putting your thumbs up. It's more than that. And so it's a very unique topic. And I think it's so great to hear on a whole nother level and to kind of talk a little bit more about your instructor training now, because we've been kind of talking about the history, how it started and kind of the beginning of it. And I believe this was in our conversation, we're around like 2005 now. Let's kind of go over the next few years. What was that like, the evolution of Masala Bhangra? What were some items that you knew you had to either take out, update, or even the way that the fitness industry has kind of influenced your instructor training?
That's a great question. It certainly has evolved. When I first started the training, there was so much to be taught that I thought, and I still do. A lot of people miss the 2-day trainings. The 2-day trainings were a lot of fun. I decided to go with what the industry was doing, and that was a lot of people's time was getting cut. A lot of people didn't have 2 days to spare. A lot of people did ask, can you make it a 1-day training, please? So over the years, I did the 2-day training from 2007 is when it first launched until a few years. For a few years, it was 2 days. I think around, I don't know the exact time, but I think 5 years later, I cut it to 1 day. And I thought, okay, what can I take out? What is it I can take out? A lot of, what I had to go look is what can one do by themselves at home and what will resonate with them at home? Because when you talk about a cultural fitness dance program, you want to sit and listen to it all in person and make sure you grasp it versus just reading. And then, will someone even read it, right? You gotta make sure that they read it. But I just had to trust the system. I had to trust myself to say, they're going to read it. They have to. Otherwise, you won't get very far. So a lot of the lecture aspect of things I took out, and I condensed it to a 1-day training. And a lot of the moves I took out because I didn't think that you needed to learn every single move, every single signature move. I think there's enough signature moves in the training now with it being a 1-day where it's enough for you to digest, enough for you to grasp and feel what is Masala Bhangra, because then once you join the network, there's a plethora of moves as well as videos there that you can go watch and learn, from it because you already got the foundation aspect of it. So we really, there's 2 to 3 pieces of a lecture that we really hone in on in person in the training, where everything else is something that you can do at your leisure, at home, and really grasp it, understand it, and do some research and ask, come up with some more questions where on the spot, it was like, here's what it is. And then afterwards, people would have a lot of questions. So it actually has worked out to our advantage. Yeah. I said earlier, when Bhangra sort of migrated, through India, then to the UK, and then the United States. In the UK, Bhangra is very popular. So the hardcore Bhangra music is very popular there. And then what's happened is there's artists that have now taken that dole beat and they've synthesized it and put other instruments on there and other fuses of beats where now the music just sounds amazing. And everyone, when you say that one song, everyone's like, oh, I know. Because here in the United States, it's that one popular song called Beware of the Boys by Jay-Z and Punjabi MC, right? Right? It's that one song that everyone knows. So whenever I would do, and I bring that up because whenever instructor trainings would come, when I would do them, I would ask everyone, have you heard of Bhangra music? And everyone's answer would be, I've just heard of that one song. So I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I'm going to introduce you to a whole new level. Be ready for it. Because you have to immerse yourself into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something that kind of popped into my mind there. And I'm going to give an example from the personal training realm and with certification. So I've taught certification weekend workshops, and anybody that's taken their certification, or any manager or anybody that's been in the industry for a while, you know that these are things to get them into the door, that typically you're not going to certify someone and be like, this is going to be the best trainer after. They're going to know so much, but you have to essentially pack in items to get them ready in a way that there's some key items that I got to make sure that you walk away and you know how to cue someone, or make sure that if you're training somebody that you're going to be training them safely. There's some things that you just got to make sure are included in a workshop. And having taught other types of workshops, there's some key items that I want to make sure that the individual knows, that they walk away knowing these items. Being a Fit Pro, having taught different formats, and I believe, Masala Bhangra is a 32 count, correct?
It is.
So that is just a whole nother level in my mind, teaching a 32 count. So what, in your opinion, are some of those key items that instructors need to walk away when they leave your course or they take a training? What are some of those things that they need to know these things?
All right, so let me understand your question. Are you asking me in general or just with Masala Bhangra?
General.
That's a great question, Tyler. That's a fantastic question, because when one goes to a training, it's not about, watch me, I dance the best, right? Or watch me, I can lift the most weight in this class, or, I can squat, a 300-pound, whatever. It's not about that. What it is for anyone out there putting a program together, for me, it was the class format, it was the music used, it was the cultural nuances, and then it was the signature moves. Because when you teach the major elements, when you take everything else away, what makes a great instructor? The class format, how it's put together is going to make a great instructor. They need to understand that. The music, how is music used? How is it played? Where does that 32 count come in? That's key. Cultural nuances with whatever you are teaching. And it could be the culture of weight training, the culture of, drumming, the culture of step aerobics, whatever that culture is, that's got to be there, because that's important. I think you have to, for me, when I did have to go back and look, okay, what can I take out? It was the history of Bhangra and the history of Bollywood. Yes, that's there. It's absolutely important, but you can read that at home. I don't need to go over that. I can answer a question or two, but I didn't think I needed to go over that in a training. That's something that you could just read at home and, watch all of the videos that we suggest that you watch, all of that things, because we used to show that all in the in-person training. That's all now cut out. And even now, today, 2022, let's say years later, after the second revision, of a training, I've now had to take it online, right? And so now, I'm working with an amazing guy. I'm not saying who, but we're putting an instructor training together. I'm not making any announcements as to who I'm doing it with, but it's pretty awesome that, now we're looking at, all right, how do I take all that educational knowledge and put it online so one can still get it, feel it, and feel like they're right there with me or a master trainer or whatever, and feel empowered. Because to me, the class format, the music, understanding that is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. The pieces that come up in my mind is years ago, the first educational company that I worked with. So I'm talking close to 10 years ago, we were already talking about hybrid workshops before everything went into Zoom. And the reason the emphasis was based on was more time spent with hands-on or key items that you need to focus, that you need to hopefully see somebody teaching these items. Is online education a great tool? Yeah, I have to say that I own an online education company, but there are courses that you don't necessarily need somebody standing in front of you lecturing about a topic, that they can watch them at home, so you can get more time on the hands-on. And so I feel like that is something for listeners to digest, is that, okay, how can I do that with potentially some of the things that I'm working on? If you are an instructor, then maybe you're doing some type of like contest or sweepstake or challenge within your, maybe your boot camp. Are there some things that I can just maybe put out there that they can go back and watch and learn more about it, but they need to see me do X, Y, and Z? So just an idea to kind of talk about there. One more question before we get to the podcast takeaways here. So community has become a really popular term over these last 2 years. People go, oh, you have to build your community. You got to build your community up, that this is where it's so important. I feel like you were doing some of those things a lot earlier. What were some of those steps that you took to kind of build that community? I believe you have a community on Facebook. What were some of those steps that you did and what was like some of the information that you shared that you really feel like people really resonated with?
Tyler, I don't know if anyone's going to like my answer to your question, but I'm still going to give it.
Let's hear it.
My definition of community is not necessarily social media. It's important, but it's not necessarily social media. My definition of, when I go back and look at how did I build, how did we get this far? I remember when I first brought Masala Bhangra to New York City, I was asked to teach at a few gyms, and it went so well that I was given 15 classes right away. So they said, if you move, we'll give you 15 classes, and we're going to launch Masala Bhangra here. Let's do this. Of course, I'm going to take it, right? And I remember I was coming in with the vision that, okay, all I'm going to do is just teach classes, and that's it. But then I got these opportunities that came my way where I was asked to judge a Bhangra competition, let's say in DC. It was a big competition called Bhangra Blowout. And I got asked to judge the Bhangra competition, right, from my perspective and my expertise. And then they said, do you have a team that can perform? And I was like, well, I don't have a team, but I have students. And my students are pretty rad. They're amazing. And they said, okay, great, because we would love for your team to perform while the judges are tallying up scores, or just, to come in and showcase. And this, you talk about community being this new hot word. I think diversity and inclusion is a new hot word that honestly I was doing 22 years ago. I am celebrating 22 years of Masala Bhangra being born today, where diversity and inclusion was something that just you did. I did. I remember I took students. I asked 10 students, do you guys want to go with me to DC and perform at Bhangra Blowout? Everyone was like, yes. I'm like, let's do it. I remember renting a van. We all drove down there. 10 students of mine of different ages, sizes, and nationalities got on stage, and they wore Indian outfits and they represented. And I was like, oh my God. That to me is how I started building community, where I'm still in touch with some of those students today. Some of them have gone on, to have families, got married, moved countries. But the power of social media certainly they have come back to me to say, hi, how are you? But I have built my community with bringing people together, not just for class, but outside. So to me, that's community. And then if we can, of course, put it on social media, why not? So I do have a community on social media where I have a Masala Bhangra ambassadors page. It's private. It's for all the current ambassadors there, because I need a place where you all can come together and ask any question, inspire one another. Hey guys, this worked for me. This could possibly work for you. Or hey, this, especially during COVID, when it first hit, I went on there and I said, what's everyone doing? Where are we at? What are you all doing? What are some ideas that you guys are doing that I'm not seeing or you're not seeing, or how can we help one another? And it was amazing to hear what people are doing, the ideas. Some people didn't do nothing, which is fine, understandable. But I think it's important to build that community genuinely. When anything comes from a non-genuine place, it's just going to drop. And if you expect results like that, that is not going to happen either, right? It is gradual and it's authentic and genuine. Like I wholeheartedly love what I do today. I love it. I love it so much that I'm like, God, why does this? It feeds my soul so much to see people come together and dance. And now even virtually. For 2 years, and still today, I teach virtually, and I just put it out there. I said, okay, I'm teaching. I'm sending it out to my newsletter. Virtually, who wants to come? Because for 2 years, we didn't go anywhere. The community that came every Saturday morning, that blew me away. So I have that community now where I stay in touch with them via email. Here are some updates. How is everyone doing? And some of them share. In fact, there are 2 students that I haven't seen in a while. I'm like, I haven't seen those 2 in a while. I need to email them and say, where have you guys been? Is everything okay? And I think community appreciates that. But you know what my favorite is, Tyler?
What's that?
Is building these students that come to class and then having the students do something together and then they become friends. And some of them become lifelong friends. Some of them become friends for a season, for whatever we all come into our lives for a reason, a season or a lifetime. And I love that saying.
Oh yeah.
So, and we still are together. I still have students from 20 years ago that are still with me. That's fascinating.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the piece to, for the listeners to kind of take away is it comes from other places. And that's one of the fascinating pieces just from the podcast or friends that I have in different areas of the fitness industry is that I feel like it's been preached, oh, you got to create a private group on Facebook. That's going to be your community. That's how you're going to get business. But really, they can come in different places. It doesn't even have to be on Facebook. I know of different platforms, people that have big businesses, how they keep them actually off of Facebook. And they use maybe something like Discord. I'm drawing a blank on the other platform that I know of out there. Or maybe you have an in-person community. I can relate to what Sarina just talked about with when I had my in-person boot camp. Our community were our members, and we would create a strong community that, people would do stuff outside of the boot camp. And that can be also, if you work at a gym, you have a class, and what people talk about is creating a community within your class that somebody's there championing your class, helping new people that come. So it's not just you saying, oh yeah, we're doing this, this, and this. There's other people welcoming them, making them want to come back. And that's really important to think about, just more than, okay, I have to make an online Facebook group, and that's where I'm going to build my community. There's so many other pieces, so many other ways that you can do it that it doesn't even have to be online. So great way to talk about that and really put hopefully some information out there for listeners to think about it in a different way. And as we get now to the podcast takeaways, I feel like this is going to be a good one because Sarina, your background, what you do, and everything that you've done is different than any listener that I've had on the podcast. So what are 3 myths about the fitness industry?
Well, I'll tell you what my experience has been.
Yes.
When I was traveling around the world, and I still do now, I'm getting back into travel and stuff. I remember there was an article that talked about Masala Bhangra and the evolution, and the last sentence was, power to her, she's dancing to the bank. And I'm like, I might be dancing to the bank, but probably to get a loan, not necessarily to, so while people think, I'm traveling around the world and doing what I'm doing, it's not necessarily lucrative. I have never pursued the fitness industry for the purpose of money, but more so making a difference in my community. Mm-hmm. And I've survived. Maybe I should have looked at it differently, but I've survived, and it's fed my soul. And that is what has been the most. So
that's a good one.
I don't know if it's really such a lucrative, industry, but it can be. I believe it can be very much so. So second myth is you have to, this is the one thing that I feel prior to getting married and having children, yes, I'm in shape 100%. I love, working out and exercising. I don't know if I necessarily have that, cut fit, body where I'm jacked. So I don't know if you have to be, totally jacked to make an impact in your industry, but I feel like you have to walk the talk. If you're going to walk the talk and say I'm promoting health and fitness, then I got to look at the part too. I do believe that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I do believe even now post 2 kids, I take care of myself. I exercise, but I don't know if I do it for, the lean and mean machine, right? I do it to stay healthy. So I don't necessarily think you have to have this lean machine, cut diesel type body to be in the fitness world.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Third myth, presenters are fantastic. And I think each presenter, 99% of the presenters I have ever met, I remember when I used to be at Idea Fitness Convention, and this is, getting into the fitness industry. That lady came and taught me how to teach. And then I started going to the fitness conventions, and Idea was one of them. And I would volunteer. I was a dorm monitor for some of these big names. And I would watch them in awe, like how they're able to mobilize crowds. And I'm like, God, I want to do that. I'm so proud to say that I can do that today. It's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. But watching them do their thing, and then here I'm thinking, they're probably not really nice people, or maybe they're not approachable, but that's not true. I think anyone who's making a difference in this world, especially the fitness industry, they are approachable. Mm-hmm. These presenters are approachable because they are there to inspire you to become a better presenter, a better teacher, wherever you are. So they are approachable. And some of them today are my closest friends because we've just, now we're known in the industry as presenters. So I think a myth would be they're not approachable. I probably can't. Let me just go take their session and that's it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's true. I think you take their session for sure, be inspired, and then go up to them and tell them what you're inspired by, because whatever you're feeling is what you're going to take and go put it into your class.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
I think presenters are approachable.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I touch on one of those, I'm going to say that I do know how old you are outside the podcast. I'm not going to say it, but I will say that you move very well. That's one of the pieces that you did not say is you move very well. And I mean, you are very energetic, very lively, I guess is the term that you didn't mention, but I will give you a ton of credit for that how well you move. And I mean, if you go to your social media accounts, you move, you dance it. So you got to give yourself credit for that. But I will touch on the last one because that's one of the ones that I have not heard on the podcast about with presenters speaking at conferences, that you are right, that the majority are there for the right reasons to help instructors. And if they are willing and they do give you that chance to speak with them outside, if they provide their email address, whatever contact information, definitely take that. Definitely take that. Follow them, ask them questions, because if they are at a convention to give back, to provide education, to help, then take it, because educators are always willing to give back, always willing to help, provide insight. And that's what every Fit Pro can utilize, to put your ego aside, not think that, oh, I already know how to teach this. I already know XYZ. No, go ask them, get more information to hopefully benefit your business. So good stuff there, Sarina. Before we sign off, can you please provide your social media links and your website information?
Yes, my social media links are at Sarina Jain on Instagram and Facebook, and then at Masala Bhangra on Instagram and Facebook as well. And on Twitter, it's the same thing, at Sarina Jain. I am on TikTok. I'm trying it. I'm not good at it. I just have a lot going on. So I think TikTok is fun. But I said, you know what, give it a shot. So I'm on TikTok. If you are a big TikTok follower, to me, social media is amazing. And I use it. I didn't build my name because of social media. I built it outside of it way before this is big. But I'm using social media as a platform to inspire, to continuously inspire, and to remind you to get up and move. So social media is there, and I love it, and I'm active on it. But it's not like I'm 24/7 on it, because I do have, operation to run. I do have instructors to make sure they're okay, make sure they're taken care of. I have 2 kids that need my attention. I have a husband that will love my attention all the time. So, there's just a lot going on, but I am on social media for sure. So please follow along. Please try out our Tuesday tutorials, or, whatever fun things that we put up there.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good episode. Sarina, thank you for coming on the KIPS podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. And great job, as always.